I know why Prabhu asked that I go in front of him, because Mukunda Maharaj and Ramai Maharaj have given such ecstatic talks that I've just had tears coming out my eyes. Tears coming out my eyes, and they're a hard act to follow. I'm afraid it's a bridge too far, but still glorifying Prabhupada is a pleasure for any devotee, so I'll try and say something. So, Srila Prabhupada used to quote, Krishna is like the rising sun, always appearing on a new horizon. Similarly, when Srila Prabhupada was on this planet, the cry would be going out somewhere around the world, Srila Prabhupada is coming, somewhere. So this cry of Srila Prabhupada is coming would inspire the devotees to perform impossible tasks, to get everything in readiness for Srila Prabhupada. Certainly, I witnessed this mood in Melbourne Temple in 1975 when the devotees purchased the temple. The present temple now used to be an old Catholic school which was abandoned, and they had a few months to convert it into a beautiful transcendental temple for Srila Prabhupada to come and install Gaurnitai deity, and also a new home for Sri Radha Vallabha. There was so much to do. So this is a familiar pattern when Srila Prabhupada is coming. So much to do. No time to sleep, no time for bodily discomforts. Eating was a random thing, and the fever pitch was always increasing as the time got closer. There's a formula that was applied all over the world at different times for Srila Prabhupada. Mukunda Maharaj, he probably experienced this as much, if not more than anyone, for that feeling. And it actually, when Srila Prabhupada arrived, it bubbled over into that joyous association of his physical presence. And the appreciation that Prabhupada showed of what had been achieved, what was nearly thought to be impossible, was all the reward that the devotees were looking for, just Prabhupada to be happy, and then the devotees were in bliss. So, but the actual act in itself was a purification, the endeavour to please Srila Prabhupada. Actually, the benefit of it manifested into Srila Prabhupada's association, and then during that time Srila Prabhupada was there. It was like the spiritual world. Everybody was just completely in ecstasy. And of course Prabhupada would leave like the setting sun and rise somewhere in some other place. So the other aspect of Srila Prabhupada's coming was that Srila Prabhupada would bring with him the heart and soul of ISKCON. He was ISKCON. So by the time I joined in 1975, there was I think there was 10,000 disciples, and there was 108 temples. So Srila Prabhupada, he was the manager, he was the general, he organised everything. So at every place that he would come, it would be like the heart of ISKCON. GBCs would be in contact with him on telephone, telex, telegrams, all different departments, book department, art departments, public relations would be calling him. Temples from far-flung places all over the world would be ringing Srila Prabhupada for encouragement and advice. And of course, any problem that was manifest in temples that could not be solved, and I don't know any temples that don't have problems, so they would come to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada would tend to all these issues. So similarly, at the same time, while he was there, he would also be translating his books. I know I have one experience that the very first time I went to the temple to go to Mangaladi, I actually ended up staying at Sarat's mother's place, believe it or not. So, because I knew her from the old days. So she said, come and stay at my place. That was in Chapel Street in Paran. So I was sleeping on the lounge seat, on the lounge chair, and there was no clock there. So I woke up, oh my gosh, I'm late. So I had a shower, I got changed, grabbed my bag and slammed the door shut and got out on the road, hailed a taxi, and I'm driving. I said, what time is it? He goes, 2:15 a.m. So I get to the temple, there's no turning back, the door was locked. So I get to the temple and it was just like all these bodies just crashed all over the pavement outside the temple, and just wherever they could. There were just so many devotees there, and they're all unconscious. The only light that was on was the light in Srila Prabhupada's room. He was already up and he was translating his books. So it was rather amazing. So this is Srila Prabhupada's life, and not only that, there was this, he always experienced failing health. So consequently, personal association for most devotees was practically non-existent. So when Srila Prabhupada came, there was like morning walks, there was his classes, there was maybe some personal glimpse or some association that Prabhupada in passing would say something to the devotee, and those devotees, you find, will remember that for the rest of their lives. So you hear them talking about it because it was so influential. But Srila Prabhupada also stated that physical presence is for the neophyte, because more than that is the transcendental instructions that he put out in the books, in this translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all the books that will give the eternal association of Srila Prabhupada. That was the higher meaning behind it. And so the study of his books would enable us to have his association for eternity. Hence, to please Srila Prabhupada, we would attempt with the utmost of our ability to sell his books and make them happy, and of course read them. There's this story I just read about Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan in 1976. He was giving class, and he asked the sannyasi to find a particular verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that sannyasi couldn't find the verse, and he's referring to other sannyasis. They're all poring over the Bhagavatam for 5 minutes, and they couldn't find the verse. So at that point in time, Srila Prabhupada asked for the book, and he said to them and to all the devotees that the devotees should be as familiar with his books as a lawyer is with his law books. So automatically then Prabhupada just turned to the page and read the sloka, and there was a resounding cheer in the temple room, and Srila Prabhupada goes, Hacha! Recognise him. So Srila Prabhupada's books are the Yuga Dharma books. They're the books that they are the law books, the spiritual law books for the next 10,000 years, and this is our mandate. He's instructed his disciples that we should be familiar with them, and that instruction spreads through to the disciples, the grand disciples, and the great grand disciples, and so on and so forth. When we become familiar with these books, then this is our pathway to God consciousness and pleasing Srila Prabhupada and Parampara, and not only saving ourselves but saving the whole world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.